So does a person who is present during the execution of a search warrant have to identify themselves? Great question. My name is Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing you another roadside chat. So this question comes from an officer in Henderson, Nevada. He says, a person is inside of a structure while we're serving a search warrant. Does the person have to identify themselves if they're not the suspect, if this happened to be an occupant? Well, let's talk about a few laws that are in place here. Number one is police officers have the authority to detain a person while a search warrant is being executed if they actually have some kind of nexus to the residence, right? This is called a Summers detention, Michigan versus Summers. The Supreme Court says that basically we have, absolute authority to control the scene. If a person is, basically associated with that residence, they live there, they're friends of an occupant, we just have the authority to exert absolute control over that environment until the search is completed. Why do we have that? A few reasons. Number one is safety, right? We don't want to let, Confederates leave the residence, come back with their friends to effectuate the release of their friends. Number two is to also effectuate the opening of locked property. Maybe somebody in on that residence can actually help us, not destroy property. And finally, they may be implicated in a crime, right? So if we actually conduct our search and we find evidence that ties them into the crime, well, they're going to go to jail too. Okay, so we have the authority. Now, I say nexus. The reason I say that is that we should not be detaining the UPS driver. We should not be detaining the plumber who's bent over under the sink trying to fix a leak, right? His crack showing and so forth. Classic plumber, he has nothing to do with this residence and he just wants to leave. Of course, he's going to leave, right? All right, also finally, use good judgment, right? If grandma, who really has nothing to do with her grandson's selling drugs and she's really ignorant to the whole issue, and she wants to leave, maybe that's the right thing to do. Okay. Now, the next thing is identification. Not every state has a stop and identify statute. California doesn't, and some other states don't, but many states do, including Nevada. NRS, Nevada Revised Statute 171.123, allows police to demand a person's name, address, explanation of their actions while they're being detained for criminal activity. We also have a case called Hybel versus the 6th Judicial District Court of Nevada, which is a U.S. Supreme Court case from 2004 that upholds the stop and identify statute, meaning that if we stop somebody for criminal activity and their name, we ask them for their name, demand their name, and they don't give it, generally speaking, we can arrest them for failing to identify. Now, let's apply those cases to the situation at hand. I understand that these people are detained, they're seized for various reasons. But unless these officers in Nevada, right, I can't speak for every state, but unless these officers in Nevada have, reasonable suspicion for them, then they should not be demanding ID on threat of arrest. Because this is actually very similar to our authority to seize passengers under the Fourth Amendment. We can seize passengers. They're not free to leave in most states. But that does not mean that we can demand their ID on threat of arrest because they have not done anything wrong. The only thing they've done is to pick friends who are bad drivers. Here at let's say the cousin's over at the house, right, visiting his other cousin who's suspected of criminal activity. The thing that he's done in life is that he was born into a family with a cousin who sells drugs, right? Unless you have reasonable suspicion for him, then we should not arrest him potentially for failing to identify unless they're involved, right? The drugs are right on the table. When you guys busted inside the house, they're all sitting on the couch. Of course he's involved, right? You have information that he's also involved because he's a runner. Identify him under Nevada law. But the point is they should have some connection of reasonable suspicion as to them. If not, they should not be arrested. All right? All right. Detained, but not arrested for failing to identify. So I know I'm very confident that that's how that will work out at the Supreme Court. I've never seen a case. I just know that it wouldn't happen where a court said, yeah, cops not only can detain everybody, but they can also demand ID on threat of arrest if they don't identify themselves during the execution of a search warrant. Okay? All right, I hope this has helped. If you like what we're doing around here, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Go to blue2gold.com. Have you actually checked out our website? Our website is off the hook. It's the best, I think one of the best law enforcement websites out there for training. And we have a lot of free resources, but also a lot of things that will help your education. The books, the on-demand stuff, the free webinars every single week. You get my point. Okay? All right, stay safe.